What's going on, YouTube? We got a good video coming your way. This one's called Donald Trump's Secret Reason for Targeting Iran's Nuclear Program. Guy gives a lot of good insight as to what's going on, and he's got a different perspective on a lot of things, but hey, that's what we need. A lot of different perspective and some more insight as to what is really going on. So let's check it out.
Thing at the wrong time. We did the right thing at the wrong time. Nobody wants a nuclear capable theocracy in Iran. And I want to specify that because nobody hates Iran. What we don't like is the Ayatollah and the theocracy that's taken hold of Iran. Iran was a friend of the United States, a friend of Israel, 50 years ago. Right. So it's not like we have a vendetta against Iran. It kills me whenever I see pundits and, hard right-siders come out and say that there's something evil about Iran. There's nothing evil there. There's a Shia state that's a theocracy that wants to expand and run Shia ideology.
As far as evil, yeah, that's kind of pushing it. But as far as their worldview on things, the public executing, just the attitude they have just by any means. This has been probably one of the dirtiest wars that I've seen. Bro, it's a lot of things that they're doing now. The way they're targeting things, the way that they are targeting their neighbors, like, bro, this is borderline.
Throughout the Middle East and make it a new kingdom again, right? But that's specific to the theocracy. We needed to destroy their nuclear capability, their nuclear weapons capability. We believed that they were enriching up to 60%. Yes, it's the same equipment that takes something from 60 to 90%, but 90% makes it weapons grade, not weapons capable, right? I spent a lot of time in the nuclear missile forces of the Air Force. To actually have a nuclear weapon, you need enriched uranium, true, and a delivery vehicle, and a triggering mechanism, and some kind of consistency in deployment.
Right.
They didn't have any of the other three. We watch North Korea launch missiles that blow up in the sky all the time.
Yeah, they still don't have that, do they?
Correct.
Right.
Iran has none of that. So what we have is a convenient excuse to make a show out of blowing up these.
How long do we wait, though? If they've shown the attitude of they gonna have it, and they openly saying that, bro, we gonna get it. These are the type of people, bro, that when they get it, they gonna use it. And we've been putting it off long enough, bro. I don't know if that's a good enough reason not to do it.
These 3 nuclear facilities that may or may not even be where the 60% uranium is being saved or preserved.
What about a suitcase bomb, though? That kind of changes it.
Well, that's a suitcase bomb can be done with dirty, nasty nuclear material.
Okay, right.
Right? If you think about how much damage comes from a nuclear meltdown of a civilian plant. And all of that enrichment is only up to 3.5%.
Okay.
Right? So it's
Chernobyl, for example.
So we've really not protected anything. All we've done is made sure that they can't take the next steps in creating a delivery vehicle for a clean atomic weapon immediately.
Okay.
This is my big concern. My big concern is that by bombing Iran, what we've done is send a message, not just to Iran, but also to China and to North Korea and to Russia, that the United States is willing to exercise questionably legal tactics to make sure that you don't compete with us, which all that does is create a window for them to use questionably illegal tactics to bring us down as well, whether that's messing with our economy, messing with our currency, dirty bombs, biochemical weapons, etc. And that's what scares me the most. Iran.
Do y'all think we've shown them too much? What we're capable of, or what we're willing to do, even our weapons and our tactics. Do you think we've shown them too much? I don't think so, but maybe we have.
Promised a response. They didn't promise it's going to be in 5 days, right? The symbolic response that we saw with the rockets that launched on Iraqi bases housing U.S. military personnel, that's just symbolic. That doesn't mean that in 3 years there's not going to be a fucking dirty bomb that goes off in New York City.
That's true.
And Iran already knows that there have been other bombing attempts in Boston, in Central Park, in New York, that have been either barely prevented or not prevented at all.
Yeah. So it's not over. Are there sleeper cells in America?
Absolutely, there are sleeper cells
Yeah.
all over the world.
Oh,
A
yeah.
big part of the American defense against sleeper cells, this is comical in my opinion, the big defense that we have against sleeper cells is actually human behavior. When you are a Shia Islamist from Iran and you go to a sleeper cell into whatever, Madison, Wisconsin,
Yeah, Wisconsin.
3, 5, 7 years you live undercover there until you start to be like, well, shit, this is way nicer than living in Tehran.
I hope they don't go to Florida, Texas, none of those places.
And then they just get complacent,
open carry.
like most Americans do, and then they just
Good
don't
luck,
act.
friend.
That is the most effective means that we have found to protect against sleeper cells, because otherwise there's no communication. There's no footprint, there's no digital back and forth. How do you find them? You don't find them until they're activated and actually active. And ISIS is showing us that lone wolf operations across the US are more effective than actually organized long-term sleeper cells. So are there sleeper cells? Yes. Will they activate? Is questionable.
Because we haven't seen an Iran sleeper cell activate.
Right.
Right.
No.
Okay. Now that strength move that Trump did also has upsides, right? Because you could argue previous administration didn't show any strength.
Right.
And so maybe it also shows
can't
the world
argue that.
that we have limitations, we have boundaries. So I guess it's a yin and yang there.
Right. And I am supportive of what Trump did in terms of engaging our Air Force to carry out a very sophisticated strike against Iran at a time when their air defenses were weak. Like I can go on and on about why it was a smart move.
Okay.
Right? Smart does not make it right. By Trump's base is divided.
Yeah.
Right? So it was really just a strongman move.
Mhm.
It's very Trump to make that move because Trump understands he needed a victory. He's had too many losses in the last few months as a public figure. He needed a victory to kind of demonstrate his strength again.
Yeah, and midterms are creeping
Yeah.
up, and he's got to be very cognizant of that. The Fed's not doing what he wants, and the time is ticking.
Right.
He knows that.
The courts
Yeah.
are working against him and the courts are winning.
Yeah.
He's got his own politicians working against him and the politicians are gaining favor, right? He had this giant parade to increase recruitment in the military when recruitment in the military was increased before he ever had his parade. Like there's issue after issue where he's failed to negotiate peace between Israel and Hamas, failed to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia. These were all things that he promised. So he needed something to show that he's a strong president.
Okay, interesting. Let's fast forward 5 years. Where do you think Iran is at that point? Some people are saying, yeah, topple the religious leader, but now you're going to have, the Republican Guard guys come in. It could be worse. And that's probably what's going to happen next. I listened to a really interesting commentary the other day on I'm watching too much Bannon's War Room, where the guy said it's usually
I know what you're thinking. Here's Kristen Bell on a luxurious vacation with her pretend kids. But I'm really here for all the points I get with my City Strata Elite card.
City Strata Elite. Rewards where it counts. That's the point.
unfortunately, the power player that takes the reins. It's not the people's uprising with this benevolence. It's actually usually a strong man that comes in and replaces that. So what do you think happens? I mean, obviously we want to see Abraham Accords signed by everybody, kumbaya, the whole region gets along.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people
that.
want that. We see signs of that already in the region, but what do you think is going to happen?
It's hard to make those predictions for sure. The next few months and years are going to kind of define what happens next. I don't think we're any closer to the Abraham Accords between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Really?
Saudi Arabia is probably very happy
Yeah.
that Iran's been knocked back, but people forget that Iran is also the breadbasket to the Middle East. So the Middle East needs the Hormuz Strait to get their oil out, and Iran controls 50% of that. Almost all of your fresh food all across the Middle East comes from Iran. So Iran can quickly put a vice grip on all of America's closest allies in the Middle East and just funnel all of their energy and food up to Russia and China, right? They can easily switch.
I don't know if a lot of you know where Iran sits at. It sits right in the middle of everything there. And it's so secured. The front part of it is nothing but mountains. The back end has two huge rivers, which makes it almost impossible. Well, you've got small little narrow straits to get into there, but like an army or anything that you're trying to bring in, it has to be funneled in between something, no matter how you go inside of it. And with them, they sit right in the, and they control so much of everything that's why they is just letting it swing right now. They know they've been waiting on this for a long time. If they would have got nuclear weapons, I don't care. There would have been nothing stopping them from using it, especially on their anybody that opposed them or what they wanted to do. They would have used them immediately
and bring great pain across the Middle East. If they did that, because of Israel and U.S. actions, that's going to put a serious damper in the Middle East supporting Israel through the Abraham Accords. But we have yet to decide exactly how Iran's going to move next. So what's it look like in 5 years? There's reason to believe that there could be a regime change, but that doesn't necessarily, like you said, mean it's going to be a good regime change. Yeah.
No.
If there's anything the U.S. learned in our 20 years that we lost in a global war on terror, it's that when you cut the head off of a fucking Hydra, 2 nasty heads grow in its place.
Yeah.
So what nasty heads are going to grow if the Ayatollah comes down?
Yeah.
And there's no reason to believe that they're going to become wonderfully democratic. If anything, they elected a democratic president on their fucking own a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and we just completely disregarded that. So there, internally, you can understand how the Iranian people, not the Iranian regime, but the Iranian people are going to start seeing for themselves a narrative that they believe is that the West is trying to oppress us. Russia went from being a paper tiger to being a strong and flourishing economy, not a stable economy, but a flourishing wartime economy. And now everything we did to try to make Putin look bad has worked against us.
Yeah.
So why would we believe that everything we do to try to make the Ayatollah look bad is somehow going to work against us too?
Plus, they have their own media. The internet shuts down. They got their state-sponsored stuff, and they've been brainwashed for a long time. It's hard to undo that. And that hatred for America has been taught since they're little kids. It's hard to undo that, isn't
And
it?
not only that, but it's beyond. Hatred for America used to be very easy. And I would argue, as an American who's traveled the world, there are no friends to the United States. The United States has people who are conveniently friends with us, but as soon as we are not convenient to them, they're going to move on and be conveniently friends with somebody else. And that's just survival instinct. That's just human nature. But on top of that, the question is, it's bigger than America. It's become the question of democracy, right? Democracies are being on shaky ground all through Europe, through the United States, through the Five Eyes, right? People can't seem to agree. They can't seem to come to negotiating tables. So all these authoritarian or strongman regimes, the people within those strongman regimes are watching as strongmen take over democracies, right? Trump is just a strongman. He has more authoritarian techniques than he does political democratic techniques. But the same thing is true, in Portugal. The same thing is true in France and Germany right now. The same thing is true in some of the biggest democracies. South Korea has a president that's being reviewed for impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking the Philippines has a vice president who's trying.
I know what you're thinking. Here's Kristen Bell on a luxurious vacation with her pretend kids.
But I'm really here for all the points I get with my City Strata Elite card. City Strata Elite. Rewards where it counts. That's the point.
Trying to go through a legal process to become president instead of go to jail. I mean, come on. Netanyahu is on charges for corruption. You've got the most talked about democracies of the world are failing. Not failing critically, but failing enough that the rest of the world has to be asking themselves, like, is democracy really what it is trumped up to be?
Yeah. I spend now 6 months a year in Dubai. I ask that question every day because here's something that functions incredibly with I would say a benevolent strongman leader, a strong family with like 100-year vision for this country that delivers. Mm-hmm. And they make Western democracies look like a joke. When I come back to London, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. This is a city and a continent in decline, and there's no turning it around. There will be no Trump of the UK. There will be no Trump of the Europe, I don't believe. America kind of got that. We'll see where this goes. But, you can't make this argument anymore that democracy is the best for everyone. I never believed that anyways. But you're right. It's now the narrative that's of question right now. And some people are really showing that you don't need that democracy.
And think about it, even just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago, people would just blindly say democracy is the best.
Yeah.
20 years ago, we were still trying to forcibly drive countries to adopt democracy. Democracy's a few hundred years old.
Yeah.
Right? And democracy didn't serve Rome. So what is really going to be the government of the future. And that's why I think it's such an exciting time where we are right now, because we are literally watching as technology and education and the reach of information expand, and this idea of democratic equality shrinks, right? We've got huge socioeconomic divides, huge political divides. It's a very small part of the population that makes a very large impact.
Right.
And we're all realizing that. And it's making it so that even young people who have predominantly been the progressive liberal voices of the world, even young people are saying, well, fuck that. Like, I'd rather be one of the few that's rich rather than one of the many that's poor in pursuit of equality or democracy.
And that's going to get even more polarized with artificial intelligence.
More divided.
Absolutely.
The people at the top are going to use that to get even more power and wealth, and the people at the bottom are going to get less and less opportunities.
People who adopt AI are going to use it for innovation and opportunity. People who delay the adoption of AI are going to be left behind. And then you've got the people who are going to try to adopt AI partially for reasons that somebody else has come up with, and they're going to never break out of a certain level of wealth or capability.
I've had all the AI experts in here, and they say pretty much the same thing. I'm not scared of the AI. I'm scared of the people that are going to use AI to dominate the world. And we already see this crazy scramble going on in Silicon Valley, because they all can see this.
Even been using this war
technology to scale. I'm also scared of the AI too, because once it gets done with them, it's going to have its own voice. But that's another story.
Right.
Just to finish up with the Middle East, from pure tradecraft perspective, what did you personally think when you woke up and saw that Mossad had detonated those beepers, or some of these incredible feats, the falling of Syria, or some of these other things that I don't think anybody ever saw coming? What did you make of that? Because I'm guessing the CIA couldn't have done something like that.
Yeah, so it's funny because CIA has a lot of priorities. The whole world is of interest to the CIA. So because of that, you take your multi-trillion-dollar budget and then you split it out over 163 countries, and all of a sudden you don't have very much capability in any specific country. And people don't understand that the CIA is directed based off of intelligence policymakers who are elected officials. So as we elect idiots into office, whether you think Trump's an idiot or not, we all know that the senators and congresspeople under Trump are various levels of idiocracy, right? So you've got all these people who have a voice in what is the national security priority data set. So CIA...
I wouldn't say they're idiots. I would just say now the people that we have in charge are they're so distant from the everyday American. They've been living without really hands-on work. Like, they cannot relate to us. They just, the divide is so apparent. Like, you can't not ignore it. Like, it's just, they have no clue of what it's like to live as an everyday American. And that's apparent right now.
It has to follow whatever those directions are according to where the budget comes from. The budget comes from Congress. So why do I say all that? I say all that because for sure, what you see with Mossad can't be replicated by CIA. Mossad has one primary threat, Iran. And then its second primary threat is Iranian proxies. So everything that they've ever focused on, all their money, all their capability, everything is really focused in almost one exclusive direction. And as they've had success with the Abraham Accords across, parts of the Middle East, they've been able to reduce what they've had to put into protecting themselves against Sunni Muslims. So you've got this focus, and on top of that focus, you have a very risk-tolerant intelligence service, because the people will tolerate things that Mossad does where Americans would never tolerate if CIA acted the same way that Mossad acted, right? The Americans would not be proud if we sent an agent on a motorcycle to strap a bomb to someone's car in public. They would not be proud if, an AT van or an A-team van had a panel drop and a machine gun that was mounted there to assassinate engineers, civilians around the world. Americans would have a problem with that Israelis don't have.
Right. That happened a few years ago, right, to the Iranian scientists.
Correct. So Mossad does incredible things because they have a population that supports them, and the rest of us get to watch with clean hands and say, wow, it's like the movies. But if we did that kind of shit, there'd be riots in the street like we see in California.